Welcome to the All Jammed Up podcast presented to you by Music Never Stopped. Today is Monday, March 3rd, and today's guest we have Stephen Barry.
What are you doing, podcast for Lot?
Yeah.
Come be on a Lot podcast.
Yeah, hell yeah, All Jammed Up.
This dude's doing a podcast. If you want to be on some podcast, come give an interview.
Good morning, fools, and welcome to the All Jammed Up podcast. I'm your host, Clint Dotson, and we got another fun one for you guys today. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. I sure did. We went to see Kendall Street Company on Friday. Shout out to those guys real quick for letting me do that giveaway for them. Was able to grow the accountability, find some more followers. So shout out to them for that partnership. Shouts out too to my sponsors. I'm sipping over here on a Devil's Foot beverage, a little non-alcoholic margarita craft soda. It's pretty damn good. But I hope you guys all had a good weekend. Today's guest, we have Stephen Barry. Stephen is a local Asheville jewelry maker and engraver. He's followed around Dead & Co. He's following around Billy kind of right now. And he's good friends with some of my best friends, Grace and Dustin, so I'm really excited for this interview. And I think it's a good one, man. I've been talking about getting someone here on the podcast that is not a musician, and we finally did that, and it's a really good story. And excited for it. So without any further ado, let's go. Stephen Barry.
Hey, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Alrighty, guys. We're here with Stephen Barry, local Asheville jewelry maker.
Yeah.
Okay. Engraver. And loves to follow Billy. Are you from Asheville?
No, I'm originally from Ohio.
Ohio. Okay. And
Like northeast Ohio, Akron.
Gotcha.
Area.
What brought you here?
Kind of like just the music scene, and I was on the road for a while. I lived in a school bus for 3 or 4 years, and like following Dead tour, following Billy tour, and I'm not much of a city person, but I love music, and the music scenes are usually in cities, so this was like a nice balance of having a nice art and music scene as well as being like close to nature and being able to like tuck away when I need to.
Yeah, it's a good clash that it's like the downtown here is like, so I just came from St. Pete. I was living down there for a while. Tampa for a few years, then St. Pete. And Tampa, like downtown sucks. St. Pete's pretty cool, but I feel like here we have a really good downtown, and then like surrounding suburbs are nice. And then like you said, the nature and stuff's a huge plus here. Like I'm from Virginia, miss the mountains a lot.
Cool. Have you been to the Blueberry Patch in St. Pete?
I have, yeah.
I love that spot.
Yeah.
I was in Florida for most of last winter.
Okay.
Like not this one, but the one before.
2023?
Yeah. And we were all traveling up and down. We went like all the way down to the Keys and stuff. And St. Pete was definitely my favorite spot in Florida.
Who'd you see at the Blueberry Patch? Do you remember? Or
It was just like an open jam, and just a real good vibe of like community, and it was awesome.
So I lived like, you know how like the Blueberry Patch, and then if you go straight, like that same street, there's the water there.
Yeah.
I lived like right down there, like on the same street as the Blueberry Patch, just across 22nd.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a really sick spot out there. That dude Chris Dyer does a lot of sick
I saw that one of his pieces on that like smoke shop on the corner there.
Yeah, I think he just did a pretty big mural at the Blueberry Patch too.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm working on trying to get him on here because I'm going back down to Florida in April.
Nice.
So I'm trying to see if we can get our schedules to match up to do an interview with him.
That'd be super cool.
So tell me about living in that bus for a few years. What was that like? Where'd you go?
It was some of the most beautiful and hard times at the same time, My first trip in it was 2021 Dead & Company tour, and I was like rushing to try to get everything done for that tour. I was like, this is it. This is going to be my first trip in it. And I ended up missing the first show because I was like ready to go, and I was like, oh, this is it. It's ready. And then we found out like something disconnected. My taillights weren't working, so we had to like figure that out. And so I ended up missing the first show in Bristow. I think the first show was somewhere else. The second show was Bristow, where I went to. So then I went and did that whole tour 2021 in the bus, and it was beautiful. And my buddy Sage lost his van got stolen the show, like my first show that tour. And So he was like, just distraught. Like that's his home. He has everything, all of his art and everything in there.
So you did it with a couple people?
Yeah,
okay.
I had a few people like in the bus. I drove down alone, but then like pick people up as I go.
So was it your bus? Like it was your bus? Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. How much did you have to put in that to get it going and everything? Buying it, fixing it up?
Originally I bought it for $10,000 when it was just a school bus, but I got like a really good deal on it because it had like fire damage on the inside.
Okay.
So it only had like 20,000 miles on it. It's like pretty much brand new.
It's just so funny to think of you whipping a school bus all across the country.
Yeah, it was awesome. And like circling back to like and then Sage lost his car and then he needed somewhere to ride in. So I had my buddy Mason in my bus as well. And so we like kind of adopted him in there as well. And it was just great. Like the connections you've made, like I've made through going and traveling in that bus and like being able to provide a safe space for people. And like, it's been awesome.
Do you have a specific show from the Dead & Co tour that kind of sticks out to you as your favorite?
That's so hard. They all kind of just like melt into one. But honestly, like right off the bat, no, I wouldn't. Well, actually, I would say Lock-In 2018. I saw Branford Marsalis, or I think that's the saxophone player that's played with the Dead, sitting with them. That was definitely one of my favorites for sure. I wouldn't say
played at Dead & Co?
Yeah, Dead & Co played at Lock-In, in 2018. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's like my favorite, but that's definitely something that sticks out as like amazing. And
I got a funny one for you. So I've only been to 2 Dead & Co shows. The first one I went to, I don't know if it was 21 or 22, but the first one I went to was Citi Field with my buddy Veggie, and we're sitting there, sitting there in set break, and the dude in front of us is like recapping the first set, and he knows like everything about every song, like when it was written, and just like total head, and just knew like everything. We became friends with him like throughout the show. End of the show, we're like, hey man, it was so nice to meet you, blah blah blah. Me and Veggie go see Dead & Co the next year in Bristow, and we're in the lawn, and as soon as we sit down, we look to our right, and sure enough, it's that same dude by himself. Or no, he was with his sister or something. He was with his sister, and he was just like, no way! And it was just like so crazy, like big ass stadium, big ass amphitheater. Dude's right next to us again.
That's awesome. Like I feel like I've had multiple like cosmic interactions like that as well, because like my friend Jace that I've met and going through Dead & Company, Scrappy, he like we first met actually at Lock-In, but it was real brief because we had the same tattoo, and I have like a dead bear that's like half blue, half red with the bolt going through.
Oh, that's pretty
cool. And I had like a vest on with no shirt on, and he was walking by me, and he has like the same thing on his arm, and he was like, "Oh, dude!" And then that was it. Like we just kept walking. That was the only thing. And then like next year, I was in at another show. I don't even remember where it was, but I was on the lawn. And this dude we're talking to, like we were talking, just same thing, having a good time. We didn't even realize till later, like way off later. And he's like one of my best friends now. We've been to Europe together and everything. Yeah. And like we like put it together because he saw on my Instagram like that I had that tattoo or something. He was like, funny. "Wait, were you at Lock-In? Did you see like a guy walking in the woods?" And I was like, yeah. And it's just like crazy, the cosmic connections like that.
It does, and I feel like it always happens, like especially, I'm sure it's a total normal thing in the world, but like it just seems so amplified at shows because it's the same people going the same, just in different places, so
right.
It's bound to happen. But when it's happening, it's always like, no way, especially you're on some mushrooms or something.
Right. Definitely. Yeah, that's like same kind of thing happened with my friend Mason I was talking about that rode with me in my bus that first tour. In I think it was 2019, we were driving from Texas to Colorado, and we just like kept driving like next to each other, and we just saw like Grateful Dead stickers. So you know how it is on the road, like Grateful Dead, you know. And then like that, like we were driving by each other for a long time, and then we like finally split ways in the travels somewhere on the way. And then when I got to Boulder, I was doing that part of the tour like alone. That was before I really met a lot of community in the dead scene. And I saw like 2 kids just like around my age, so I went up and talked to them. And we spent like that whole day together, and then the next day I saw their car and I was like, no way, it's you guys. And so it's just crazy.
The way things happen.
Yeah.
So now you're kind of following Billy, right?
Yeah, I was doing a bunch, and now that I have a spot here, I haven't been like doing it as much, like really like crazy on the road. Like I've been going home in between and stuff, you know. But yeah, I went to all the Asheville shows. I got in 5 of the 6 nights, and then went to both Atlanta shows.
And do you just never buy tickets and just are like, I'm gonna figure it out?
Pretty much, yeah.
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 Do you usually sneak in, or do you often get gifted, or like how does that work for you?
I mean, we definitely try for miracles every time. And I mean, it depends on where I'm at too. If I'm like did good on sales and I have some extra money, then I'll gladly like throw some money. But being on the road full time, it's like, you know, harder to come by to make it work. So I've definitely gotten miracled a lot. I've snuck in a lot.
Yeah.
But
I tried to do it a couple weeks ago. The lady was like, our friends are like, I'm going to send you my tickets, see if they work. And I went, and the lady was like, sweetie, these already went used. So I went to the box office, and by then I was like, all right, I'm doing too much for this. I was like, just give it back to me.
Yeah.
So you just went to Atlanta this past weekend, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You guys, I think that second night might have been better than any show that we got here.
That Red Rocking Chair, the encore.
Not show to Red Rocking Chair.
Yeah, it was crazy. And they just stretched that Red Rocking Chair out so
long.
much.
Yeah, I was listening to it.
It was so beautiful. So beautiful.
Dude, that's the thing, like, I love that he's here for 6 nights, but I almost feel like when you only have 2 shows, or 1 show, it's like, you know you're going to get a bunch of bangers.
Right.
But here he's, like, spacing out, and he doesn't want to do any repeats, so you got to get, like, not really filler songs, but, like, songs that I'd be okay with missing. So I think that's, like, it's kind of a curse and a blessing, getting all those 6 nights.
Yeah, I will say, when they broke out the Lord of the Rings theme, that Shire, though,
the first week. Yeah.
I'm, like, a huge Lord of the Rings nerd, so
really?
I was, like, so sad that I missed the Lord of the Rings theme Billy shows for Halloween in Asheville a couple years ago, because I didn't go to those, and I was always, like, Billy Strings and Lord of the Rings. I'm like, what? That's, like,
right
amazing. Yeah, and so I was definitely feeling blessed to be able to see that live, and that was a special moment of those 6 shows.
Hell yeah. So Ohio, and then now you're settled in Asheville. Had you lived anywhere permanently before then, or are you just always on the road?
I was mainly just always on the road. I've like stayed longer in some places than others. Me and like a big group of friends from tour all stayed in like Santa Cruz after 21 tour for a while, and but like all in vehicles and stuff. Like Asheville is the first time that I got an actual like house since like being on the road.
Gotcha. And I want to talk about like your group of friends. I call them the Frog Brigade. I just know Anastasia and Harley, and I think the other girl's name's Olivia. I met all of them when I was doing the Lot podcast. How'd you meet all those guys? Just shows?
So I know all of them through my girlfriend, Allie. She lives in Charleston, and all those girls are from Charleston.
Oh, she lives there now?
Yeah.
She's Ribbit on Instagram or something like that?
Rainbow Ribbit,
yeah. She followed me. I see her. Yeah.
But yeah, I've just met all of them through her, and Allie loves frogs, obviously.
Okay.
So that was just like a thing she put together. She's like, let's just all be frogs.
Dude, I was so like... I saw that Anastasia girl like dancing, and I was like, I bet we could get her to come do a story. And then like someone mentioned it, that we're doing the podcast too, and she's like, oh, I got the perfect voice for it. I'll go do it. And she tells the story of them sneaking into one of the after shows.
That's funny.
But so I want to get into your engraving and your jewelry a little bit. So I looked like pretty far down your Instagram. Came a long way from just the Wire Rhapsody engraving that you're doing now. But did you get into the Dead music first, or the jewelry first, or like which one led to the other?
So actually, all the jewelry all came through the Dead. Like I first found out about Wire Wraps through like Lot scene.
So
and,
can
like,
we back up then and start like what got you into the Dead first then?
Yeah. So I like first started listening to more like psychedelic rock and stuff through like just going like in high school, just finding myself in like finding what I like, and listening to like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and all that. And I actually saw the Grateful Dead. I got introduced to their art before like their music. I saw like a poster that was like all psychedelic with a Steely on it, and I had no idea what a Steely was.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is cool, but what is this like skull with a lightning bolt? So I literally like Googled it. I'm like, what is a skull with a lightning bolt?
How old are you then?
I would have been like 15,
Okay.
14, 15. And then like Grateful Dead came up, and so then like Ripple was the first song that came up. So I listened to Ripple and I was like, wow, this is awesome, And then I got their greatest hits CD because my first car, I didn't have like an aux or anything.
Yeah.
So I just like had that on repeat all the time. And then one day I was just like, I wonder if like, I didn't know if they were still alive. Like I didn't know who Jerry was. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. So I like look it up one time, like, is the Grateful Dead still touring? And like, yeah. And then it just happened that they were like playing that that summer at the like venue that I'm like closest to back in Ohio. And so like I was like asking all my friends in high school, and no one was like really Deadheads, but it like had a couple friends who like knew who the Grateful Dead was, So a couple of us went there, and for the first show, like I just like absolutely fell in love. Like we didn't even go to Shakedown because I didn't know like anything about that. But just like seeing the people in the community and like the friends and family and just that vibe of like freedom and like.
Do you know what year that would have been?
2017 in Blossom.
Great podcasting for the people not watching. Company Blossom 2017. I want to see the set list. See what you got. All right. So by this time, did you know a lot of Dead music at this point, or were you still just?
It was more just like the greatest hits. Like I didn't really do any deep dives yet.
Okay.
Until my first show,
Gotcha.
And that's kind of what kick-started everything. And
they must have been jamming a lot that night. It seems like there's not that many songs.
Yeah, honestly, I remember a Good Lovin' was played that show. I'm pretty sure.
Do you want me to read you the set list?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
All right. So Hell in a Bucket opener. Mississippi Half Step, Into Black Throated Wind. That's pretty cool. You probably didn't know those songs.
Right,
either.
no, yeah, I didn't.
Because those aren't like the super famous ones. Road Jimmy, Big River, Cassidy, Big Railroad Blues. And then China Cat, I Know You Rider, He's Gone, Truckin', O'Teal's Shirt Jam, Drum Space, Post Space Jam and Shiz, I Need a Miracle. That's one of my favorite ones. I love that song. Wharf Rat, and then Good Lovin' with the Black Muddy River encore. Yeah, that's a pretty good first show.
Yeah, it was great, and that's what definitely like kickstarted everything. And I knew like I was like I'm definitely going to be going to more shows. I didn't know to the extent of what I was getting into.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And how old were you then?
I was 17.
17. Okay.
Yeah.
So then 17, couple years go by and you get into wire wrapping.
So the next so then I like had a post on my Instagram of that show, and somebody must have saw it just through like the hashtag or whatever, and was like, oh, I was at that show too, great show. And so then we ended up just like staying in contact. His name's Kyle, and like I never met this guy or anything, but the next summer tour was opening up in Massachusetts, and he lives in New Hampshire, pretty close to Boston. And he's like, fly out, dude, we'll go to this show. And so I'm like, just graduated high school, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I like fly out there, and he shows me around and everything. And he's a little older. He was like 27 or so at the time. So he's like been to more shows and knew like a little bit more. So we ended up like going to Shakedown and everything. And that's the first time I saw Wire or it wasn't there. It was the next show that we went to at Blossom that summer. I saw Wire Apps there, and I was just like mind blown. I was like, after a show, I'm like, wow. Cause I was like already interested in crystals, but like, not like
making art with it.
Yeah. And just like the fact of like being able to work with them and like making something to wear and like also wire wraps can be expensive, you know, and I was like, I want these, but I can't afford these, so I'm gonna learn how to do it. And so then it kind of just like started off with just like real simple, like taking 2 wires and kind of making a cage around a big stone, you know.
Yeah.
And then just over the years of just like how many things you can do with jewelry, of like how many doors and possibilities there are of just like constant progression and like new things to learn has been amazing. And
yeah, I was so you know Grace and Dustin.
yeah.
So when I moved to Florida in 2020, I started working at a restaurant. Grace worked there. My best friend worked at the restaurant too. Him and Grace started dating, and then like after a few months of them being together, Grace moved in with us, and I would like leave for the morning to go to work, and she's just sitting there doing her wire wrapping all day. And like at first, I was just like, I feel like you're not even getting anywhere. Like you're not even doing anything. And now I see her shit, and I'm like, God damn! Like she's gotten really good. So I'm sure that like evolution for you was pretty exciting. What is like the engraving? So let's talk about you and Dustin. You guys did the engraving course together, right? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So me and Dustin first met at a show as well, actually. My mutual friend Jordan was like, oh, you got to check out my friend Dustin's work over here. He's set up like across the way. So I like walked over and saw his stuff, and I was just like mind blown about how just amazingly talented he was. And so yeah, we just kind of stayed in contact after that, and then ended up both wanting to take a class. They were separate classes, but at the same time. He was doing a gun engraving class that time.
Yeah.
And I was doing like a basic metal engraving class as well. And that was in Emporia, Kansas, I believe, at the GRS Training Center. And that was a great time. That like really opened the doors to everything. And like the amount of information and everything that you learn at GRS is just crazy in that 5 days. And like I constantly want to take more classes. Wanted to take a Bellino one this year.
What is that?
Bellino is like realistic picture engraving.
Okay.
So kind of like dots, more dots and little lines for shading.
Okay.
To create like realistic pictures.
So are you good at like drawing, like freehand drawing?
I'm okay. I wouldn't say I'm like amazing. I can draw some stuff, but I'm like not as good as you would like think honestly.
Yeah.
Like
that's the thing I was thinking, because like I see Dustin's stuff and he has like crazy good. I'm like, but I've never seen him like draw or anything. Another funny thing too about people living with me. So we met Dustin, like we were at a market. We'd always like go with Grace to a markets to help her with sell her jewelry, hang out in her van. And she was like, there's this guy over here, we should go check his stuff out. And it was Dustin. And then Dustin was like, yeah, I'm kind of here for a while, just like hanging out. Like, and we're like, oh, we have a couch you crash on if you want. So it turned into like him crashing on the couch, like bringing all his equipment in. And we just like watch him over his workbench all day. Just like, I can't read what he did, but he did this one thing where like he was casting something.
Okay.
And like we watched that and we were all just like, oh, like just dumbfounded how cool it was.
yeah.
But the classes that you guys take, like, is it just like an 8-hour? You're in there for like 8 hours, or is it like lectures,
it's
hands
like,
on?
It's like hands on. Everybody has a desk. Everybody has a microscope. Everybody has, excuse me, a graver and everything. And they'll like do little exercises at first. Like for my class, at least, it was basic, like bottom line basic stuff to like a starter beginner class. So it was like drawing straight lines and like curves, and it's like a lot more goes into engraving than people think, and it takes a lot longer than people think sometimes. But yeah, it's like there's like a certain angle you have to go at, you know, and to get the length or depth you want and everything. So it kind of went into doing like straight lines, curved lines at first, and yeah, it's like a classroom. You're in there like 8 hours a day or whatever for 5 days in a row.
Okay.
And then you could even stay like after or like during lunch. They like let you out for lunch, but you could like stay in there and work if you want. And then you like learn more about like doing scrolls and that kind of thing.
What is that,
as well.
scrolls?
Scrolls would be like It's kind of hard to explain. Like, it's like timeless design and engraving and like art in general, like European or like Victorian era, like scroll.
Gotcha. I see.
Like the vines of like the. I don't even know how to describe it.
I think I've seen some pictures on Instagram of that because I follow a few guys that do the engravings. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's
I had a hard time visualizing it at first.
It's definitely like a timeless thing in engraving. Like skulls and scrolls, like have been around since ancient times, and
I feel like that's a very meticulous craft. Like almost need to be mistake free to make it really what you want it to be. Have you ever had an experience where like you're 3/4 done with something and you just fuck up, like your hand slips, or like has anything like that ever happened?
All the time.
Yeah.
I actually am working on a custom. Well, it's not even a custom. I'm donating a piece to the Asheville community yoga because I just love what they do. And being a full-time artist, I don't always have the money that I would like to donate to them. And they do raffles every month, so I'm going to donate a piece for them to raffle. Or raffle off at the end of a month or whatever.
Okay.
And I like was literally more than 3/4 done. All I had to do was this background, and I didn't like. Sometimes when you're in that zone, you just like you forget to like look back and like so it's like an ohm symbol, and then the dot at the top part I thought was just part of the background design I was doing. So there's no more dot part. So I was like, now I have to restart this whole thing. And
so what does that look like? Restart. If you have this design, do you like sand it all down and just go again?
You have to. Oh, I mean, there's.
Or is it a new piece of metal that you do it on?
Yeah, you'd probably most of the time, especially with this kind of engraving of the background I was doing, it's like you're cutting straight down. It's like deep, so it's like kind of no going back. But also, you learn how to work with things. So I didn't want to restart the whole thing. Yeah. So I decided to like cut out another piece of silver, like the dot size, and solder it to it, and then set a gem in it.
Okay.
So it kind of is just like that. You know, you're like rolling with the punches, and if you mess up, you find a way to fix it, and if you can't fix it, sometimes you do have to restart the whole thing, and it sucks, but it's part of the craft, you know.
What would you say you spend like how many hours are you on like that wire wrap you posted today for the raffle, like something like that? How much like time are you putting into that?
That wire wrap has probably about 30 plus hours put into it of work time.
Okay.
Between the wire wrapping part of it and also the back plate was what took more time of like cutting out all those pieces and like soldering them all in place. And then when you're working with like that much stacked,
I'm going to pull this up real quick and I want to kind of have you go through it.
Cool.
And I'll put it on this monitor so you can see it too. Kind of just walk us through all of it. It's funny because I know Grace and Dustin are going to be listening. They're like, Clint doesn't know shit about this. Or anybody listening who... Is it on your store? Oh, this one right there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me share that now. All right, so the people can see it if you're on YouTube or watching on Spotify video. Here's the front. You want to go to the back first?
We can start with the front.
Okay.
So what this entails is this like center stone here is using a bezel setting. So I would make a frame for all of this and then make a bezel setting, which is, do you know what a bezel setting is?
I do not.
It's like what you would like normal like fabricated rings with a stone that's like not wire wrapped. That would be like fabricating, and most of the time like a bezel would be just like wire or like metal around it, and then like encasing the stone kind of thing. And so at first it's just a frame. You kind of go with what shape you'd want to make the frame. And then I'd solder the bezel setting, not with the stone in yet, to the frame. And then from there, all of these are pretty much just components of what you'd want to add. And like, so like that's a double coil, which is like a 28 gauge wire with 30 gauge wire, so smaller than that, wrapped all the way around that, and then that wrapped around like a 21 gauge wire, and that's what would create like something like that.
I look at that and like at first when you said 30 hours, I was like, that seems like a lot of time. But now when I'm looking at it as you're explaining it, I'm like, I feel like it should be more than 30 hours.
It definitely takes a long time, and then all the weaves and everything as well.
Let's go to the back. Oh no. Where's I saw it?
Yeah, it should be
a story.
I think it's on that post. It should. There we go.
I'm not used to the computer.
So
this is different pieces of metal stacked on top of each other.
Yeah. So basically, for a back plate, it's pretty much a bezel setting around the whole wire wrap. So you make a whole nother bezel setting around the shape of that wire wrap that you make. So at first, it would just be flat metal on the back, but then all those pieces are like hand sawed into those shapes and stacked and then soldered into place. And then when you're stacking that much too, you got to like worry about getting it too hot and like fire scale and warping and all of that. So that's something you have to be careful with.
So if I were to hold that, is there like texture on the back? Like, can I feel it, or is it just okay? It is.
Yeah,
okay.
You'll feel like all those pieces of stacked metal. Like it's got like layers to it.
Okay, and can you tell us about this stone? Like, what is that stone? What does it mean?
That's chrysocolla malachite mixed. I honestly don't know like the spiritual properties of it offhand. I'm really bad at that part, honestly. And but yeah, I just like chrysocolla malachite like reminds me of Earth and like satellite views of Earth kind of thing. And I just really liked that. Green and blues are my favorite colors. And that there is a sapphire, and that's a peridot facets.
Nice. I see this a lot online with people who are like doing small businesses and trying to, sell their art, and it's kind of seems like it's an internal conflict that they have of like highballing, but you know how much time you put in, you know how hard it is. Is that something you struggle with? Like, am I charging too much? Am I not charging enough? And like, how do you navigate through that? Because that seems very difficult.
Definitely, that's something I struggle with every time, and especially with jewelry of like. Because it's not just hours that you're putting in, it's actual materials as well. As with like some art, the materials aren't too much and it's just your time. This is also working with like precious metals and precious gems. That's a lot. And some people don't realize like how much like handcrafted jewelry is worth. They see like something in Walmart that's sterling silver for $20 and they're like, why are you charging $300 for this? And so yeah, it's definitely something I struggle with in trying to find that like clientele that is willing to pay that and like really recognize the art form more than just like, oh, I want a piece of jewelry. And
that's probably the hard part too, because of the people that are really into your art are the people that are going to all these shows and are kind of just traveling. I was like, I can't really afford to pay this much.
Definitely.
I think you're doing a really smart thing though. I'm not thinking that you came up with it, but the raffle idea that you're doing today, I think that's a really good idea. And I think it makes people feel involved in it a little more, too.
Yeah.
Just like one guy going to buy it. And, like, sure, 19 people are going to be bummed, but someone's going to be stoked they got that for $25.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, I definitely didn't come up with it. That's, like, a lot of people in jewelry do that because it is expensive. And then... like my first time doing a raffle was this year, like at the beginning, like around New Year's. And it just had like really good feedback. And I was like struggling with not selling much of anything in like a while before that. And I was like how am I going to make this like work and all this? And then I saw someone else do a raffle and I'm like, that's a good idea. Because like you said, a lot of people who do see my art and a lot of my friends like, don't have the money to
like, I was like, I can't buy this for $500, but I can definitely. I was like, I might get 2 on payday.
right. And like I had a lot of positive feedback when I did do that first one of like someone messaging me and being like, I really love you doing this because I like always want to support you and I always want to like have your art because it's so great, but I can't afford that.
Yeah.
And so that kind of just put it into perspective of like. It's nice to have people be able to support me and have other people like also message me and been like, I like want to support you, but I don't have the money to do that. And even if they don't win, just being able to support me with just like the $25 of like
Possibility
and the possibility.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like a like game too. Everybody's like excited for the raffle.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, oh, am I gonna win? And it's like a fun little thing.
My cousin came down here for Billy weekend 2, and he bought a 3-day pass because like, I can only stay Friday, Saturday. He was like, I'll give you the 3rd ticket and do a giveaway to get yourself some followers on the podcast page. And I was like, that's a great idea. And like, it was nice to be able to give it away to somebody, and no one gets mad if they. It is funny to think about though. Like if you do like a raffle a month, and say like I put it in for each month, it's like, damn, I could have just bought one and never even bought one out at this point.
Right.
Yeah, but no, I think that's a really good idea.
But yeah, it is. Yeah, it does put it because like you said, if you keep doing it, you could just buy a piece. But that's another thing.
It's more about supporting you, though. I think at the end of it, like,
yeah,
because like we want, like you said, we want to support your jewelry, but we can't splash the cash right now, and it's like it'll come back eventually in some way.
And another cool option, with people who don't have a lot of money but also like want a piece, is I just opened my website for the first time not too long ago, and they have payment plans available on that, and you'd get it upon the first payment, and there's like different options for it too. You could do like
the Klarna thing or whatever.
Yeah, but it's not through Klarna, but it's like that. And
similar.
So it's like you'd pay like the first installment and you'd get it, and then it would just come out whenever
that's a pretty
it's
cool.
due. And there's like different options too of like more expensive ones with no interest, or there's ones that like I was looking at the one I'm raffling right now. Before I did the raffle, an option was like $43 a month for a year or something, and then it ended up being like $40 more than normal, but still not too terrible for
save the just like one day. Don't do one thing and use that money for that. So I was looking at your I always creep whoever's Instagram interview and try to find something cool thing, and I found a couple of things. But the first thing, since we're on jewelry, I want to talk about is just the growth that you've had. We just talked about auctioning a $500 piece of jewelry. Your first post about jewelry was a $5 wire wrap.
Yeah.
How like surreal is that for you? It's like to see that, and if you look at that now, what do you think? Like, this sucks. And
I mean, definitely, but it's also like a different style.
Yeah.
Like, some people like that just like raw
simplicity.
And yeah, like I wouldn't say it sucks because like people do just like that. And it's different styles, and my style has changed in wanting to do more of like an intricate art form of it than that simplistic.
Because you could just bust out 100 of those
in
a couple of days, or just spend a few days making something really, really intricate. Okay.
And that's the thing, like, that's the thing I struggle with too, because I should make more production pieces being full-time for like cheaper things, but I hate doing that. It's like
it's boring.
I want to make like cool things, you know, like, so that's something.
Do you set up a lot at lot? Set up a lot on lot?
So I'll like sometimes I'll set up a booth, but the problem is with my setup before, it was like before I had a like logo and before I had a website, I didn't have business cards, so it was kind of just like it looked like a wook at a table, and like I'm trying to sell like $500, $600 stuff, and nobody's like, and it was also like I never have like a ton of inventory at a time because a lot of it's like customs and stuff like that. So like when somebody just sees like a little table, a lot of times they'll just walk by and like not even come over. But now that I've gotten a logo and like business cards and everything, I plan on getting like banners made and like honing in my display a lot more, because display is everything when you're set up. Yeah. You got to like bring them in first, because if you don't have that initial drawing, they're not even going to see what you make.
I feel you, yeah. I do sales myself, and it's like, if I don't get you on the phone, I'm not selling nothing. It's the same thing. Right. And then I saw you went on, looked like a pretty extensive backpacking trip in Europe. Can you tell us about that a little bit? That's pretty awesome.
That was for Dark Star's tour. They recreated the Europe 72 tour.
Like Dark Star Orchestra did that?
Yeah.
Oh, when was that?
That would have been 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had like a bunch of our friends were like just sent it, you know, and we were like
taking naked pictures in the Alps.
Yeah, it was great. We all went in like a couple weeks early. The tour was like 2 weeks long. Most of us went like 2 weeks before. A lot of people stayed like after a bunch too. And we just like travel around in the beginning and then meet up for the shows. And the first place that we went to, we flew into London, and then we were like trying to figure out where to go, because like just being on tour, you never have a plan. You just like go with the flow.
We're going to the show tonight. And that's all we know we're doing. Yeah.
And like there wasn't shows yet, but we still were in that mentality of like, we don't know what we're doing. We're just here in Europe, like, you know. So me and my buddy Scrappy, I was telling you about, decided to go to Switzerland. We really wanted to go to Switzerland, just because of the Alps. Like we didn't have anywhere in mind. We were just like Switzerland, you know. And so we like looked up the day before. We were like cool places in Switzerland, and Lauterbrunnen came up. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not.
Sound good to me.
But so we just made that our mission, you know. We were like, all right, we're flying into Switzerland. I forget where we flew into Switzerland.
So you didn't even So where were you at before you flew into Switzerland?
I think we flew out of New York. I want to say, yeah, we flew out of New York.
Oh, that's right. You said you were in London at this
time.
okay.
Yeah, we flew into London.
So you didn't have any plans, and you were in London. And were like, all right, we're going to Switzerland now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we were there, and we were just like, what do we do? Because everybody was like splitting up. We all flew into London, but we all like kind of had different plans of what we want to do in the time before the shows. And so we like looked up what's cool in Switzerland, Lauterbrunnen. So we were like, all right, let's do it. We flew in to like, I forget where we flew in, but it was like 2 hours driving to Lauterbrunnen from where we were. And we didn't have money really.
Yeah.
And
can you drive stick shift?
I mean, I might be able to figure it out. I can drive a motorcycle, so it's kind of like the same kind of thing, but different. But actually, at that time, I couldn't drive a motorcycle, so no, definitely not. But then we were like, okay, so how do we get there now? We flew in at like 7 at night, so we got to Switzerland at like 7 at night, and we're like, well, we're here, let's just start walking. So we're like, all right, we're just gonna start walking, and then we were like hitchhiking too. And weirdly enough, like during the daytime, we got no rides. But then as soon as the sun got down, like people were picking us up. They're like you'd think like people
the
would,
opposite.
Yeah, right. And like the first people that picked us up were like textbook people of like who should not pick up random hitchhikers in the middle of the night. It was like these two girls that just came from the bar, and they were like driving, and like it was like textbook of like, why are you picking up these?
But you guys got in the car with them.
Yeah, we were. I mean, we're good people, you know. But like other people are not. Other people are not, you know. And so, but yeah, we got a few rides throughout the day, a couple days, and we finally got to Lauterbrunnen, and then we found out about Gimmelwald, which is like the next town up on the mountain, and there's like no cars up there. You have to take a trolley up the mountain and everything. And Gimmelwald was like my favorite place. It was so amazing. There was this place called Mountain Hostel. That was another thing. We like got to Gimmelwald, still no plan. Then it starts raining, and we're like, oh God, what do we do? And then backtracking on the hitchhiking, we like, it was like that first night, it was like getting late, you know, like 4 a.m. by this time. We're still like trying to trek, and we like come across these people, and we're like wanted to like sleep for the night, and we're like, where do we camp around here? And they're like, camp? What are you talking about? And they're just like, what? And we're like, you know, like sleep in tents, trees, mountains, because there's like a language barrier, you know, and so we're trying to like, and they were like, not possible. And we're like, what do you mean? We have a tent, it's possible. And so then we're like, all right. So we keep walking. We find another group of people, asked them the same thing, and their same response, not possible. Like, that was everyone's response. So apparently Switzerland has like really,
not possible.
yeah, not possible. We're like, oh, okay, I guess it's not possible. So apparently Switzerland has like really strict laws on camping, so that's why that was
gypsies.
Yeah. But then we finally found like a campground, and we like they had like a security guard though, and we like went up to him and we are like, how much for
Not
like
possible.
the night? Yeah. But then he was like, by this time, mind you, it's like 4 a.m. We're just trying to get like a couple hours or whatever. And he was saying it's like $50 a person or something for like Switzerland's really expensive. But they were saying it's like $50 a person. We're like, the night's like over. Can we just like, can we have a discount? And he's like, well, between me and you, like, don't let anyone see you because they're really strict around here. But there's like a little patch of woods over there. And so we like found a little patch of woods like in this park that we slept in, and it was great. And we didn't get messed with or anything. So that worked out great. And then woke up like by this lake. It was so beautiful.
That is awesome.
And but then fast forward when we're up at Gimmelwald, we have that in mind. We're like, well, but at least we're like higher up now, more or less like away from population and stuff. So we're like, maybe we could find a good spot. But then it starts raining, and we're like, what do we do? So then we ended up just like, we're just gonna go to this hostel. And like, we don't really have money, so we're just going to try to like blend in. And so we got there, and there was like people outside talking. So we just like sat and talked with them, played some guitar for a while and everything. And then someone else was like, hey, we're making a fire over here. And we're like, perfect. Like, so we just like go over to the fire and like sing songs all night, and then waited for everyone to go to bed. And we pitched a tent like in their yard. And then they ended up like not being stoked on that when they woke up at all. And they were like, you like can't do that. You have to pay it. But then they were nice about it, and they let us like continue to do that for a discounted price, and just like
good people in Switzerland.
Yeah, it was great. And then it was also like a lot of like adventure type people that were in the hostel, a lot of like volunteers to live there and stuff. And like every day after their chores, they would be like, we're going on this hike, does anyone want to come? We're going on this climb, and lots of like rock climbing and all that around. And we went to this like waterfall swimming hole, and that's where the naked pictures in the Alps came from.
Nice.
That was a great spot.
Yeah, I need to get to Europe, man. I've been to Portugal like 6 times because my family's from there, but I was like always with family, so I never like got to explore too much. Be sick to get over there.
I really wanted to go to Portugal. I didn't make it though.
That one's kind of hard to get to if you're already in London, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, by that, that's a whole nother story. I'm like low key banned from the UK, kind of.
Fuck them. We gotta hear that story.
So
my girlfriend's British.
So we're going back into the UK because the first show was in London, and we flew into London, no problems, from the US, and then we were doing our traveling around, went to Amsterdam, and then we were finally going to go to the first show, and we had like a train layover type thing in Brussels, and we ended up sleeping in a skate park that night. And so then like none of our phones were charged and everything. One friend got his phone stolen that night there.
And you guys are in London?
No, we're trying to get into London.
Okay,
We're in Brussels at this point.
Oh, yes.
And so then the next day we're going through security. We get through security fine. But then we're going through customs because we're going into a different country or whatever. And they pull us all aside, and we're like in this room, sectioned off place, and we're like, this sucks.
You guys all have drugs on you?
Yeah, there was like some weed from that. Like a couple of us had some hash from Amsterdam.
Okay, at least nothing like too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, but still, like laws over there are like crazy. Even like, I mean, besides Amsterdam, like weed laws are like really strict over there. And so we were kind of like, shitting our pants. We were like, oh God, we have hash. We're in this like customs. We're going to go into like Brussels jail. And, like, so they like called us back and like one by one, and we're just like asking us questions. This was like right after the Queen died though too. So they had like a bunch more security probably, and like didn't want a lot of people going there or whatever. Americans. Yeah, literally. So then we like go, and they're like asking us like what we're doing and asking us all these questions. And like I said, like we didn't have any plan. We're just kind of winging it. And they did not like that, They're like, what are you doing? We're like following a band.
Are you here for business or pleasure? You ever heard of Dark Star?
Yeah. And they were like, okay, what's this band? Like, do you have tickets? And we're like, no. we're just going to like figure it out when we got there. And they were like, okay, where are you going to sleep? We're like, I don't know. We're going to figure that out when we get there. And then like then they asked if we're like making money, and one of our friends didn't realize you're not allowed to make money without like a work visa or whatever. And so he kind of slipped up and was like, yeah, I'm selling this stuff, at like his art at the shows or whatever. And so that was like a red flag that they didn't want us in there. And then they like were like, all right, do you have money? And we had money, like enough to be able to go in there, but all of our phones were dead. And so we were like, can we just like charge our phones and then we'll show you we have money? And they just weren't having it. So they were just like, didn't want us in there. So they denied us. And so like, like everybody has all the stamps in their passport and all the cool places. We have like, it's like you've been served with code burp burp.
That's
and
hilarious.
But then they were like, now in the future, like you're gonna get flagged every time you come and have to answer all these questions and like prove that you have a job and prove you'll have a job when you go back to the United States, and like a letter from your boss.
Why
and like
do they
all this
care?
yeah
Like,
and
I'm sure there's a reason, but
yeah, I mean looking like we do too, they probably just like didn't want us to go be homeless in like their country or whatever.
I guess like it makes sense, but
yeah, but it was just like they didn't want us in there. And mind you, like I now officially have an LLC, so I can prove that I have a job. So they'd probably let me in now, but they said they can still, like, even if I answer all the questions correctly, they can still deny me just because I like am flagged. So hopefully if I go back, I would get someone cool and they'll let me in.
hopefully.
Yeah.
So I also saw on your jewelry page, Tipper pendant.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to Tipper and Friends this year?
I am not. I've only been to Tipper one time, and I like Tipper, but I'm definitely more into the jam band scene than the electronic. That was just or not even a custom. It was for my buddy's birthday, who really likes Tipper.
Okay.
So I kind of made that more of just like for him.
Yeah.
I'm not as much into Tipper as like all the Tipper heads. I don't know what that's called or.
I saw him for the first time in Halloween this year, and I was kind of the same, like, oh, not really into that. And then I saw him, and I was like, actually, he's pretty fucking cool. And then we have to go to a wedding in April, and the weekend before the wedding is Tipper and Friends. So we're like, fuck it, let's just go. So I'm also like, it's going to be a bit of a different experience from what I'm used to in the jam band, but I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be a blast. Like, I know there's a lot, like, it's that same kind of vibe. There's a lot of good community within that kind of scene as well.
Bunch of wooks and jerseys.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, man. Well, I think that that covers most of my questions. Is there anything that you wanted to plug before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. If you're making art, keep making art. And even if it's not working out financially, and who cares? Money is stupid. So,
not real.
Just keep making art and keep spreading the love. That's about it.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was. Huh?
Welcome back, everybody. Fun one with Stephen Barry. He'll definitely be somebody we get on again. It seems we have a lot of mutual friends. He's like vice president of the Rainbow Frog Brigade, whatever we called them on the Lot podcast. But Stephen was the man, so I'm glad we were able to set that up, and looking forward to doing that again with him. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. But before we let you go for the week, just want to wrap up or preview some of the good music that we have this week in Asheville, and we got some good ones this week. So I just found out about on Mondays at Onewood Brewing West, they do this mashup with this guy Jay Lloyd, and this week Rebecca Todd and Jeff Sipe from New Dawn Star Orchestra are going to be doing that. So check that one out. March 4th at at Onewood Brewing West, the Grateful Family Band, and then. So that would be Wednesday. Wednesday, the Annabelle Lee Band is playing at Double Crown. We went last week. It was really cool to check them out. That was a fun one. And then Thursday, big day Thursday, we got Sierra Hull at Asheville Music Hall, Jerry's Dead at One Stop, and then Fee Fi Fo Fish at One Word West. There's a good Steely Dead cover band playing on Friday at White Horse Black Mountain. I don't know if that's White Horse in Black Mountain, but the band's called Dirty Logic. Go check them out. Bears Gone Fishing is on Saturday at Asheville Music Hall, and then our boys Sons of Stars are back at Onewood Brewing West on Sunday. So yeah, that's all we got here, guys. We have who's Thursday is gonna be? Oh, Thursday is Ethan from the Snozberries. That was a really fun interview. That was a band I didn't really know too much about going into the interview, and can be kind of nerve-wracking sometimes if you're interviewing someone you don't really know too much about. It's like, what am I gonna talk about? But Ethan was the man. We had a great chat, and he will 100% be coming on again. So keep your eyes peeled on Thursday for Ethan, and then got a couple good ones. Next week will be like a Richmond week. I was there this weekend doing interviews, seeing Kendall Street, so that'll be coming out soon too. So hell yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a great week, and remember, wherever you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Come along, have a drink with me. We can talk about the world and how the world it turns so slow. Day and night I found cars they drive and planes they fly. I look into the sun and the sky, you're so bright. It's you that I have found. Oh, and I know there's not much longer now. Or if the world would just slow down.